Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Kings NBA show with MeanGene, Dustin Phifer here on a Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. I know we're a little bit behind on these NBA shows, but look, hey, the action does stop every once in a while for me and Dustin Phifer to come on here and talk about this. Dustin is joining me from Charlotte, North Carolina, where he covers the Charlotte Hornets and the Carolina Panthers. And hey, first of all, man, the perfect timing here. Congratulations on a big win in Orlando tonight. Whoa.
Yeah, I mean a blowout win for the Hornets by 27 points, and don't think just because we haven't been on in a while, Gene, that I'm not going to mention that the Hornets went to L.A. last week or so and
Oh,
blew
come
out
on,
blew out the
man.
Lakers in L.A. You know I got to mention that as well.
Yeah, you got a memory like an elephant, man. I was trying to forget about that game, man. But look, man, there's so much happening in the
Yeah,
NBA, Dustin. We're gonna try to look. We come on here because we do an NFL show too.
yeah,
Which sort of takes priority, but there's a lot to talk about here. So we're gonna try to
oh yeah,
talk about the NBA standings. Talk about some injuries, key injuries to a key player here. We'll talk
yeah.
about that Knicks historic win because before that, Dustin,
Oh
they were down spiraling quick.
yes,
We kind of talk about what's happening in Milwaukee because Giannis' name continues to be mentioned in a trade deadline. But man, there seems to be some things going on between him and Doc Rivers. Something's not working out there.
no,
John Morant trade talk. We'll get into that, but mainly here it's these standings where we stand right now because we're not only are we a couple of weeks away from the trade deadline, which is going to come up a lot sooner. But we also have information on the NBA All-Star game, which is going to be
yeah.
coming up here. That's going to be happening in Los Angeles at that exciting new stadium there, and for the Clippers.
Yeah, I mean it's like you said, it's exciting times. There's a lot going on. I know the focus is around football. We got the championship games coming up with Super Bowl here in a couple weeks, but if people haven't noticed, Gene, and we'll get to this when we get to the standings, but we just hit the halfway mark of the NBA season. It's pretty crazy to think that we're already halfway through the NBA season, and like you said, what that means is the trade deadline, and we can talk about the NFL being top dog, Gene. But one thing that the NBA does always be top dog on is the trade deadline. Their trade deadline is the
Yeah.
craziest. So that's some wild news coming up. And then, like you mentioned, that All Star game being in LA, being Europe or being the world versus USA, that's going to be interesting. So a lot to talk about here with the NBA going forward so
Yeah,
far.
we'll definitely get more and more. Trust me, we'll be all over that
Yeah.
trade deadline. We always
We're
do a
we're, we're
show.
kind of like we're kind of like inside the NBA. We didn't work too much the first half of the season, but now it's time to get full swing of things with the NBA.
Well, I'm glad you said that because unlike the inside the NBA, folks are seeing me and you more than they're seeing Charles, Kenny, Ernie, and Shaq, man.
They are, and
Look,
it's ridiculous. It's
that
ridiculous.
has been a major disappointment. Um,
Yeah,
just unreal, man. Just I
and
don't
to the
know.
point where Charles came out the other day saying that he's not really happy that they haven't been on that much. And I get it; they're trying to set up for this big push with NBA and all this for the second half of the season. But man, these if you it was a really good thing for ESPN to get these guys because
Mhm.
Gene, we've covered the NBA. ESPN's pre and post game shows have not been good for a long time. And you get these guys and you don't take advantage of using them. I'm not really sure what the plan is with ESPN with that.
I
Especially
don't know. I just think
especially when you have Prime and Peacock basically blowing you out of the
it
water with
get
their
more.
coverage right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know. I've never. I mean, Prime has always got some good games on.
Yeah.
Peacock's got some good games going on. Look, man. Someone who follows us from our NFL show
What's
is in
up,
the house.
Bobby?
Bobby. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Bobby. Look, I know Bobby likes the NBA, and I also know that Bobby is a Lakers
Oh
fan
man.
too, right?
Hey
So
Bobby,
I'm
did you watch
sorry.
that Hornets Lakers game the other night?
Yeah, he probably did watch that one. So look here. I tell you what. Why don't we just kind of uh, get into the trade talk, the trade
Yeah.
deadline here.
Yeah.
Let's just kind of see what's going on with that because I do. Well, I tell you what, with me before we do that, how about this injury? I do
Yeah.
want to talk about the Warriors' season appeared to be altered somewhat. Jimmy Butler suffered a season-ending
Yeah.
ACL tear, and look, they're already having problems. Look, it just seems like Jonathan Kamunga is never going to be traded. He's just not going to be traded. Now you are without Butler. I don't know how the Warriors are in a position now to get rid of Jonathan Kaminga.
Yeah, and listen, he's asked for a trade, and he said that he doesn't want to be here, and this has been going on for a year and a half. But you just mentioned it, Jimmy Butler's out for the season, and now they need him. And it's funny that you mentioned that, Gene. I'm looking up right now, watching the end of this Warriors and Mavericks game on Peacock with the Mavs winning. Jonathan Kaminga gets hurt in this game. I'm not sure if you heard that, but tweaked an ankle and hyperextended a knee, and he's out for the game. So that's now he goes down. So when you
Oh,
talk about this injury for Jimmy Butler, I mean, unfortunately, the Warriors sitting at 25-20, they're right there in the mix in the play-in. I think this does them in, Gene, and I hate that because Steph Curry's getting up there again in age, but he is still playing at an elite level, and this feels like it's going to be another wasted season of Steph Curry. Now, with that being said, there's been a lot of reports. We're going to talk about the trade deadline, but one thing this offseason, Gene, if Giannis doesn't get traded at this deadline, this offseason is going to be crazy because there was a report that came out today, and I can't remember who it was from, so I hate I can't give the source, but it sounds like the Warriors are going big game hunting with Giannis and LeBron possibly in this offseason. So it's great that they want to try to get something in the offseason so they can continue to maximize Steph while they have him. It just
mhm.
really sucks that I feel like with Jimmy out, this is probably going to be another wasted season for the Warriors.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, look, it's still. I know you mentioned what place are the Warriors? I know we're gonna look at the
They're
standings a little bit
currently in
later.
eighth
But
right now. They're currently in eighth, so they're right there in the middle of
yeah,
that
and
play-in spots.
so I can definitely expect them to make some kind of move. We don't know how things are going to turn out with the Giannis thing. And look here, the way Jenny Buss kind of threw LeBron James under the
Oh
bus
my goodness.
the other day, that was some interview, right? Saying that she didn't feel he was appreciative of the Lakers signing Bronny James. I don't know, man. This thing could get crazy. And by the way, we talk about the trade deadline. For your information, it is February 5th, okay?
Yeah.
Teams are going to try to focus on filling in gaps, specifically the Warriors now looking for
Yeah.
wing depth following that injury to
But what can
Butler.
they really do? What can they really do, Gene? I mean, are you going to trade Draymond? Are you going to try? They don't really have a lot of assets to trade, so I'm not sure what they can get in season that can really help their
Well, I
roster
mean,
right now.
when you look at their roster, they have you got the Dale Davis son. You got some big men. You got Post. Because Steve
Yeah,
Kerr plays so many players on
yeah,
that team.
yeah,
You got Moody. That all of these guys get a
yeah,
chance to really highlight their talents. And Przemski, I can never say his
yeah,
name right.
yeah,
So they do have some pieces, believe it or not, because they so deep there. So I don't know, but for them to be able to go for someone like a Giannis or even a LeBron, because who knows? I think LeBron is. I think his name is going to come up a little bit more often now. That relationship between him and the Lakers seems to be severed a little bit.
yeah.
But as far as
It's
Golden
done.
State,
Yeah,
I think so. It is, Dustin.
yeah. I think it's done. I don't think he gets traded before the deadline. Obviously, they have a chance to still do some decent things here this year with the Lakers. But yeah, there's no way that he'll be back in a Lakers uniform next year. And
And
can you
speaking of the
say?
Lakers, man,
Okay, hold wait. Can you? But first, let me say, can you say LeBron, has done some things wrong, probably, but I don't know if you read that whole story, Gene, about the Lakers. Jeannie
mhm,
Buss can sit here and point the fingers at LeBron, but the way that franchise has been ran since her dad has passed away, they pretty
yeah,
much ran that franchise in the ground. And we're talking about a premier franchise on the level of the Yankees, the Cowboys. Remember, you know, until they got LeBron, and I'm not saying LeBron was the savior, they were really bad. And
mhm,
again, I'm not saying that I know Lakers fans, some like LeBron, some don't. But if we're talking about Jeannie Buss and the way that that went down, and reading the story with her family member and how it tore them apart, I mean, it's got to be
yeah.
a blessing that she doesn't, even though she's in control, that she doesn't own this team anymore, because it sounds like it wasn't going to get any better with the Busses owning this franchise.
Well, look, I mean,
And
um,
that's sad to say because the Busses are a legacy out there. I mean,
it's sad to say, and that's true because Jerry Buss. Oh my goodness, man, the things that he did for the Lakers. But look, Jenny Buss is only there temporarily. The new
yes,
management for the Lakers, who just happen to be the same owners of the Dodgers, They
Yes.
put her in place so things just wouldn't be drastically changed, overnight. So this is really something to keep an eye on. But as far as some of the infighting there that's going on with the Lakers,
Yeah.
it's between her own siblings. It's Joey and,
It
and, and
is.
Jesse Buss.
It is.
Those are the sons of the late, Jerry Buss, and he left them somewhat uh, in the mix because if it wasn't, and this is not, I can't really back this up because I don't have all the facts on this, but there was widespread of drug use between one of the brothers there. So
Yeah.
he couldn't put them completely in charge of the team. Jenny's the one that's been around. She was around back in the day, before she was a Playboy model, but she did come in and work alongside her dad. And she's really been instrumental in running the day to day. But apparently, siblings squabble. We see it all. We see it happen everywhere. But I just think as soon as the new Laker management get their feet and things in place there with the Lakers,
Yeah.
I think Jenny's going to be out. I mean,
Yeah.
she's a minority owner now, so
Yeah.
they're just
I
letting her run
agree.
it.
I agree,
Yeah,
and we'll see how it goes in the end. That also means what's that mean for Rob Pelinka because that's a Genie Bus guy. So it's going to be interesting to see how that management plays out.
it,
Uncle
we
G's
got one big name in this whole picture is the other MJ, Magic Johnson,
yeah,
who happens to
exactly.
be in the management with the Dodgers. And look, you
Yeah.
don't own the Lakers and have the Dodgers and have a Laker guy now. And you buy the Lakers and don't have him have any type of input in this. So it's going to be
Yeah,
interesting to
it's
see
going to be
how.
interesting to say, and this is why Steve Bisciotti from the Ravens said last week, Gene, that when he gets older, that he's just selling the team because he doesn't want his family to go through this. And we've seen it multiple times with these sports franchises and how it can tear families apart. And Uncle G's in here, appreciate you joining the show, and he says, I agree with him. Like everybody's talking about how much does LeBron have? The guy's still averaging 24, 8, and 7. The guy's got
True.
game at 41, and he's got a couple years left in him. If he wants it, it's just not going to be with the Lakers.
Well, look, and that's why, Dustin, I am saying, look here, with 50 something $million that they're deviling out to him, whatever Bronny's getting, let's just say, let's round it off to 55 million. I think you do put him in play with the trade deadline because, man, what are you trying to do here? If you got this rift going on between him and Jenny Buss, this ego thing happens. Look, we talked about a couple of weeks ago how Rich Paul is agent. I mean, they're on the sidelines talking, and then it turned out that Rich Paul was calling a play that LeBron should run. How disrespectful is that? If you're JJ Redick over there, an agent is calling a play. Hello, I'm the coach here.
Yeah, but the problem is, and JJ did come out and make some comments tonight about how him and LeBron are on the same page, and it's a 10 out of 10 coaching him, and these people need to stop with all these articles. But the problem is, if you trade LeBron at the trade deadline, you're punting on this season because you're not going to get enough back in return that's going to take up for what LeBron James does. So you're basically saying, as you sit fifth in the West, which is pretty good, you're sitting here saying we're done if we trade LeBron. That's why I see it in the offseason. But as a fan, and we'll wrap this up, I thought about this last year because it came up last year, Gene. How crazy would it be to see Steph and LeBron play on the same team? I just think that would be so much fun to watch.
Well, and it's likely to happen. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of superstars go up there and play alongside Steph Curry. So let's keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
How about another name that has been mentioned? You mentioned the Mavericks game tonight.
Yeah.
We know Anthony Davis is out. Look, the team is still engaging in a potential trade for Anthony Davis. This is despite him being sidelined for 6 weeks with that hand injury. So he's the other big name.
He's the other big name, and the reason I throw my hands up, Gene, as a Hornets fan wearing this shirt, can you explain to me how Mark Williams, who was healthy, couldn't get a trade approved to go through the Lakers, but Anthony Davis, who is hurt and always hurt, can get traded while he's hurt? Okay, that's just a point made by me.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
Well, we're talking AD and we're talking all of this money.
We are.
That's why, Dustin, look, this trade deadline, I would expect crazy stuff to happen here. We're just hitting the surface of what's happening. Go ahead, Dustin.
I think Anthony Davis will be the biggest name moved at the trade deadline, like you just said.
I agree.
Trey Young's already been moved to the Wizards. That's a trade we saw. But Anthony Davis, I think it makes sense for the Mavericks. Like, Could they with Anthony Davis? Could they make the play in and see what happens? Sure, but I think at this point you want to go ahead and make Cooper Flagg be the face of the franchise, and with Anthony Davis being in and out of the lineup, that just causes distractions. Go ahead and trade him while some people still want him, even though he is hurt. I think I would be shocked if he's on the Mavericks after the trade deadline.
Yeah, I would too, considering everything that's taking place with with the firing of Nico Harrison and everything. I agree with you. A couple other names that are not being mentioned a lot. We did talk about them. The John Morant trade talk. Look, the Memphis Grizzlies are listening to trade offers, and it just all signs point that John Morant is probably not going to survive the trade deadline, and will be playing for someone else.
Yeah,
other than the
it's
Memphis Grizzlies.
it's funny. He said he wanted to be traded. Now yesterday he says he doesn't want to be traded. There's rumors that he bought a house in Miami, and Miami's where he wants to play. So it will be interesting. That's another one where, listen, you're the Memphis Grizzlies. You have two big, I don't know if we want to call them superstars, sure, but you have two big contracts in Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. But yet you're sitting 11th in the Western Conference. So something is not working. So both of those names have been thrown out, not just Ja Morant, but Jaren Jackson Jr. So how will Memphis rebuild? It's like
That's a big challenge.
you can't have these two huge contracts and feel like
No.
you're going for it, but then be 11th in the Western Conference. So they got to make some moves. And yes, Jaren Jackson, who's
No,
one of the better
that's
defensive players in the league, that I would love for the Hornets to try to get a guy
who
like
wouldn't
that.
want a Jaren
Yeah.
Jackson Jr. on there?
Yeah,
on their
so watch
team?
both. So watch both of those names. What's kind of crazy to me, Gene, is I kind of feel like this trade deadline, besides Anthony Davis and Trae Young, there's going to be some moves here and there. But I get this sense again, and I said it just a few minutes ago. I feel like the offseason might be where we have some of those huge explosive moves with Giannis, Ja Morant, people like that.
If it can wait,
if it can wait, yeah.
And Uncle G, hey, yeah, his issues are definitely self-inflicted. I agree with you
100%.
on that one. Let's talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo, because look, the Milwaukee Bucks have had a couple of losses, not just losses. How about blowout losses, right?
Yeah.
And Giannis has been reported saying that it's due to poor chemistry and selfish play. Now, there are other reports suggesting that he appeared to ignore Doc Rivers during the game. So, Dustin, there seems to be some expectation in the industry of a divorce between Giannis and the Bucks.
Yeah,
So
I mean it's gonna happen. I don't know if it's gonna happen at the deadline, but the divorce is going to happen. Let me read the quote, Gene. It says, "We're not playing hard. We're not playing to win. We're not playing together. Our chemistry's not there. Guys are being selfish. Guys trying to do it on their own." And he said, I don't think that this can be, I really don't think this can be fixed. He said, I really don't get it. So, I mean, you make those comments, you're basically saying that this team's going nowhere. And you get him back and you think, hey, if you have Giannis, you can at least get in the play-in. Well, you just mentioned it. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They're in 11th. The Hornets are actually breathing down their back to pass them for 11th. I don't see this team. If they make the play-in, here's the standings right here. If they make the play-in, they could possibly get to 10th with the Hawks trading Trae Young. But I don't really see them getting any higher than that. That's how bad this team is. They have nothing around Giannis beside maybe Miles Turner. Like you just got a bunch of throw it away guys. You got Portis, you got Kyle Kuzma, you got Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr. These are all just names, Gene. Like they haven't done enough to put it around Giannis, but you also have to put some blame on him and Doc Rivers, and it's just a disaster in Milwaukee right now. And there's 0% chance that it gets better.
Okay, look. So if you don't think Giannis is going to be traded in the next few weeks, which is coming up really quick here, the February 5th deadline, then I would have to take those comments to mean that, look here, if this is what's happening and if this is what's coming from your star player, then how the hell does Doc Rivers survive the trade deadline? I mean, because if you tend to keep him, then you're going to fire Doc Rivers. He basically, I mean, come on, selfish play, ignore. I mean, that all points to the coach. So it means the coach has no control of the team.
Yeah.
And look, I talked to Doc Rivers last year when they played the Houston Rockets, and we were talking about Kyle Kuzma. Now they just went out and got Kyle Kuzma, right? And I'm thinking, wow, this is a big name. So okay, how is he going to implement him into this offense? So look, I like Doc Rivers, and I'm not one to challenge any coach in the locker room or press conference because I'm just not that guy that's going to make an ass out of myself, you know. But look, I said, Doc, what's going on with Kyle Kuzma? You know, just seems like he's ready to explode. And Doc Rivers' reply to me was, yeah, you know, we got to get him going. And right there, you know, I'm thinking in my head, well, you the damn coach.
Yeah.
I mean, you just traded for him. So what do you mean get him going? You brought him over here for a reason, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you get rid of guys like Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, and all those weren't when Doc was technically there, but it's just they went the wrong way with their roster construction. Yeah. And again, I see zero way it gets better. You make quotes like that again, you might as well just come in and say, "Move me and let's get this."
You start players making quotes like that. Look, either Giannis is going to get moved before, or Doc's going to get fired before. One of those things going to happen before February 5th, Dustin.
And to be honest with you, when you put those standings back up real quick, because this kind of segues us into another team real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Two teams that are really feeling the heat right now is the Milwaukee Bucks and the New York Knicks. Now, I know we were going to talk about the Knicks. They're coming off a 56-point win over the Brooklyn Nets, a record. But before that 56-point win, Gene, they were one of the coldest teams in the NBA.
They were.
And there's rumors about players not buying into the roles they have with Mike Brown. And so what my point to all this is, if you're struggling like Milwaukee and New York is, and New York we know really wants Giannis, go out and get it done now so you can give your fans something to say, hey, we got something to look forward to the rest of the season. Not Milwaukee, because Milwaukee fans are going to be crying in their tears for a few years when Giannis leaves. But New York, don't waste the season. If you feel like it's not there, go get a Giannis right now. Why wait?
They got the pieces to do it. They picked up a lot of extra pieces. Yeah. I don't know if they picked them up and thinking, okay, we're going to need this for trade capital.
Yeah.
But it would appear that, look, I can guarantee if you look, they got Anunoby, they got, they got the big guy. They got,
and Cat's on the trade block too. He might be a part of that trade.
Right.
Somehow,
they got, is it Bridges?
Bridges? Yep. Mikal Bridges.
Yeah. So I mean, look, they got a lot of pieces, and believe me, what's the guy that came over from Utah?
Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah. So they got a lot of pieces. Okay. Hart. Even some faces New York don't want to see leave are going to leave. I know Hart is a fan favorite, but Hart is a very good draft. A good trade guy.
Yeah, and I know New York. I know they're sitting third in the standings, but don't let that fool you. Look to the right and look at 3-7 in the last 10 games. There's a lot of talk in New York about how they are not playing good basketball right now.
Yeah, and look, and Mike Brown is such an easy guy to pick on. Yeah. I tend to think that the Knicks are going to stick with him. I don't think they want to look stupid by saying, okay,
they kind of have to. Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think Giannis. If I'm the Knicks, I would go for Giannis. Look, I've been to Madison Square Garden, seen some Knicks games. Never ever heard the crowd boo like they did the other night. Yeah. Now this was way before they got the historic win there over the Brooklyn Nets. Look, they dismantled the Brooklyn Nets. Setting up a franchise best 54-point margin of victory and ending that 4-game streak. Look, Dustin, it's the Brooklyn Nets, okay? They're 12-30.
Yeah.
A win is a win, but had that come against the Celtics or the Detroit Pistons, we'd be talking about something completely different, right?
Yeah, and I'll just put a little bow on the Eastern Conference here before we go to the West. I'm looking at these standings right here, Gene. And I hate to say this halfway through the season, but besides, and I'll keep New York in there for now, but besides those top 3 teams between Detroit, Boston, and New York, I don't think any other team in the East has anything to make a run. And that's disappointing when you talk about the Cavaliers, who won 60-something games last year. That's disappointing when you talk about the Sixers, who are always trying to win with Maxey and Embiid. Orlando was good with Paolo Banchero, but now they've fallen off. Miami's still meddling in 8th place. I just don't see anything below 3. Even the Raptors, who are 8 games over 500, besides those top three, I see no teams in the East that can really cause any damage, come down the stretch. Unless some big trades are moved and change some rosters around.
Well, look, can I say something about the 76ers right quick? Look,
Yeah.
Embiid
They're hanging
has
around.
been playing decent basketball.
He has.
I will admit that you add that with the rookie play.
Edgecombe,
They beat the Rockets tonight, right?
They did, yeah.
128 to 122, and Embiid. I'm looking at the stats here, and then 32 points, man. This is his best outing, a triple-double. So this could spell good for the 76ers, who I can't remember the last show we did. Where were they in the rankings? They were not in sixth place there.
I can't rely on them until I actually see. I know Maxey is now. Let's get it clear. Maxey is the best player on the 76ers now. He to me is the face of the franchise. But until you show me that Embiid and Paul George and guys like that are going to be on the floor come playoff time, I can't go for it.
Well, look, I mean, hey, you had Paul George, Kelly Oubre, Embiid, and Maxey in double figures tonight.
They've got some pieces. Edgecombe's
almost
good.
there.
Yeah.
Had a decent game. They're becoming a household name here over the last couple of. Look, we talked about Embiid a lot, but we got to give him his credit when credit is due.
He's been playing.
A triple-double is pretty damn good for Embiid, and I didn't even see this game. And look, this came over. This is over the Rockets here. We're going to move over to the West. Yeah, which is a good team, Dustin.
It's good. It's a good win. Yeah, I mean, it's a good win, and like I said, that they've got a chance if they can stay healthy. That we'll see what happens.
All right, let's look at the West right quick.
And shout out to what Uncle G said. He said, "I'm loving the Detroit Pistons. Good coaching, good players."
Yeah.
Man, to be 32-10, JB Bickerstaff right now is the runaway NBA Coach of the Year.
Dustin, I think you gave me two Eastern.
Did I give you two of the same thing? Look at me. Look at me.
Hey, you tried to tell me so. You want to talk about Charlotte some more?
Yeah, let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about we don't want to talk about the Lakers and the Western Conference. I mean, come on.
I know. Hey, I said, wait a minute. Dustin must really be excited about the Eastern Conference here. Well, I tell you what, we're talking about Knippel and those Charlotte Hornets here, because they are looking pretty damn good, Dustin.
And the one thing I want to do, give a shout out, because you just said it for Embiid. Give a shout out for LaMelo Ball. He's played in 18 straight games. Which again, he had problems like Embiid. So give him that credit. He's been playing. They've finally been healthy. Brandon Miller's been playing, and you mentioned it. I know Cooper Flagg is great, but if we're just talking about right now, I think Con Knippel is the rookie of the year.
Oh my goodness.
He's averaging almost 20 points a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists.
The real deal.
It's unbelievable. And again, they started off 4-14, Gene, and they've been 500, 14-14 in their last 28 games. So their record's still not showing it, but they have been playing really good basketball. And I still say, if they stay healthy, I think they could pass Milwaukee, and they could be one of those that playing teams. Yeah, they're only three games behind them. Yeah,
I think Atlanta might drop. I don't know with Chicago. It's hard to tell.
Atlanta's going to drop with Trae Young. I
think so. I think Atlanta's going to drop, and depending on what Milwaukee does before February 5th, then there's a chance. But I like Charlotte chances. I think it'd be really great there. I mean, look. They have one of the best offenses in the NBA right now. Yeah, this was a good game tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 people. 8 people in double figures.
8
tonight. Unbelievable. So yeah, just good. So
man, look at all the comments we got here in the NBA show, Gene. We got a lot of people in here tonight. I love it.
Yeah, that's great stuff, man. Hopefully, hey guys, thank you for jumping in there.
We got a Rockets fan sad that they lost.
Well, look, I'm saying that too. Okay, yeah, like I've been on the road all day, so look, I didn't get to see much of that game. I maybe like the very tail end of it. A nice game won by Philadelphia, but now let's talk about the West. Let's talk about these Rockets, though. Look, that loss. I think does that loss, is it included in these standings?
I can't remember if it is or not because I think it just went final when we were getting on. So I think it is though.
Yeah, because it was an
No, it's
overtime
not.
game.
It's not because it's still showing them winning 3 in a row. So
Okay.
not yet.
Look, the Rockets are playing good ball too
Yeah.
now. I got to give it to look. Udoka's a hell of a coach. This guy, the Rockets are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Western Conference when those playoffs start. But right now,
shout out Kevin Durant, right?
Course,
shout out Kevin Durant, right? Because he moved up to what was it on the all-time scoring list?
Yeah, passing. Who did he pass?
Was it Dirk?
I believe it was Dirk. Was it Dirk?
Here, I had it right here.
Yeah, it was Dirk. Yeah, he passed
Dirk
Nowitzki for 6 on the all-time scoring list, which is
it's pretty crazy.
Incredible.
Pretty crazy what Kevin Durant's doing. He's kind of quietly going about his business, scoring 25 to 30 a night. I like the Rockets. I like their size. I'm a big Sengun fan. I like what they do. But I've said this every show we come on here, Gene, come playoff team. They playoff time. They need to. It doesn't have to be somebody spectacular, but they've got to get some more ball handling to help them in the playoffs.
They really do.
And Bald MSS makes a good point here in the chat. I like the Rockets team and the way they've kind of drafted, but Jabari Smith is kind of bordering on one of those guys you took, in the top 2, and he's really not living up to that hype.
He could be trade bait, just like we saw with the other guard. They sent over to Phoenix. So I can see that. But you're right. I would accept that, living here in Houston, right, and covering this team last year the way I did. He's that one guy. He can explode, but you don't know when. And
if they had Van Vliet, it would. If they had Van Vliet, it would be. If they had Van Vliet, it would.
That would be different. That would be different. But they sent Green, and I knew Green was going to be gone because he just sort of just folded in the playoffs. So Shepard is a little bit, too young. And
hit or miss.
And look, they got rid of the one player I didn't want them to get. That was their draft pick a couple of years ago. They sent him out. I can't think of the kid's name, but he was really, really good.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe they get someone in this trade. The Rockets are really quiet when it comes to NBA trades. They don't tell anybody anything.
But they'll always be in the game because of their length and their defense. So they will be a tough out when it comes playoff time.
How about Capella coming in there, stepping in there for Steven Adams, who's they've
got about 75 centers. They've got size for days. It's unbelievable.
They do. They can go big on you like really, really quick. But
let me ask you this. So right now the Rockets and the Lakers basically are tied for like 4th and 5th. Those are your 2 teams, okay? Yeah. If you had to pick one to go deeper in the playoffs, who would it be? Would it be the Lakers or the Rockets?
It'd be the Rockets.
Okay.
I'm going to say that. And look, they got some head-to-head games coming up here. I'm going to say the Rockets. Look, it's really kind of tough, but the Lakers been on that slide. Even though they were on a slide, they're right there. They've been neck and neck. Both those teams been right there almost all year.
Yeah, they have.
Austin Reeves comes back for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Then they have what the Rockets don't have is that guard. But now Aiden, DeAndre Ayton is playing great basketball as well. So
he just needs to be more consistent.
You know what? It's almost 50-50, Dustin.
It is. It would be a great series.
It would be a great series because what the Rockets have in size, the Lakers have at the point guard, and Luka Doncic is just a beast.
Yeah.
Right. But no, that'd be one hell of a series. Cannot wait to when they go head to head here. But no, and these standings sort of indicate the true identity of both these teams here.
Yeah.
With one lacking, big man and then Austin Reeves. Even with Austin Reeves being out, the Lakers are still getting it done.
How about a shout out to the Denver Nuggets, because you lose what is considered with SGA like the best player in the NBA, not just for like a week, but for like we're talking 4 to 5 weeks. And the fact that they've been 7-3 in their last 10 games and able to hold on to the 3rd spot and only a half a game behind the 2 spot, that's a really good job by them to really hold that standings, because you lose Jokic and you could have plummeted because the West is difficult. So you got to give them credit, and you got to give credit to Jamal Murray, who is going to be a first-time All-Star this year. This guy's been putting up some nights. I've seen him put up 40 to 45 points, Gene. He's been carrying that Nuggets team while
he has been carrying that team. Yeah, the Nuggets are always going to be a top 5 team. They don't go. They're not going any lower.
That's the team the Lakers don't want to play, because the Nuggets have their number.
And I think right now the Rockets might have their number two with the size. I think that when the Rockets put this team together, I think they did it because of the Denver Nuggets, right?
Yeah.
So you would have to think that way. But how about the Phoenix Suns? Okay, 7-3 of the last 10. This team who we thought that, okay, well, look, they made some trades here. No one thought this team would just pull it together so soon the way they have. The Suns are exciting to watch.
They're exciting to watch. Give the young coach credit, and they retooled that team. You know, they went the route of stars. They went with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker together, and that was a complete flop. And now they've kind of just went out and got guys who know their role. And Gene, you know this guy well coming from Houston, but Dylan Brooks is, as annoying as he can be, he knows his role. He brings energy and defense, and he seems to help any team he goes to. And I think he's helped shift this culture around where the Suns don't just get punked every night. You add him, Jalen Green hasn't even played, and you have Dylan Brooks, you have Grayson Allen playing well, Mark Williams, who is playing honestly better than Ayton. Who knows? He could have been in a Lakers uniform. Like they've got some guys who have really stepped up, and they're playing some good basketball.
They're playing good ball. You talk about Dylan Brooks' defense. How about
he's scoring
20 points on any given night?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a bonus that you're going to get from a Dylan Brooks. So look here, Mr. GOAT, 1996. Look,
he said what we said, really Gene. He said they're done, and we might as well call the season over.
I won't say that so fast. Okay, give Steve Kerr a little credit. If any team is going to make a trade in this February 5th deadline, you can bet your ass the Warriors will.
Mr. GOAT, I hate to agree with you, but you are right. Unless they make a huge move. I said this a few minutes ago, maybe before you hopped in, Mr. GOAT. This is another wasted season of Steph Curry, which sucks because of him getting up there in age. He had 38 tonight, Gene, and they lost. 38 points, and they lost to the Mavericks. It's another wasted season. As Mr. GOAT said, they just lost to an injured Dallas Mavericks team. And Steph had 38. It's great to see Steph playing at that level, but I think the season's done. Yeah, it's done.
I'm not going to shut it down on them because of the Clippers who were now the Clippers have surged up.
Hold on now. I'm going to say this: if the Warriors don't make a move, the Clippers will easily finish ahead of the Golden State.
Yeah, the Clippers will finish ahead.
They're playing some ball, Gene.
Who knows who the Warriors are going to go after? If they can pull a mid-season LeBron James or Giannis Antetokounmpo move, that changes everything.
It's not happening though.
Am I right?
It does change everything. It's going to be tough to do in season, I think, but it does change everything.
It would be, but just rounding out the NBA Western Conference standing here, the Timberwolves are another team that are pretty solid. Look, when you look at the last 10 games, and considering that there's been some East Coast opponents, everyone is looking good from 1 through 10.
Through 10. I'm looking. How about this? How about just now that I'm looking at it, the Portland Trailblazers are 8-2 in their last 10 games.
The best record in the Western Conference.
And then the Clippers, like we hated on them a lot to start the season, G, deservedly so, but we got to give the Clippers credit. They have found their identity again. They've had a lot of young players come off the bench and help them out, and I think that they are gonna make their way back up at least into this play, and they're going to be there at least when this playoffs come around.
I agree with you. Dustin, let's go ahead and switch over to the All-Star situation.
Okay. Yeah.
Here.
LA.
Because Luka Doncic and Giannis Antetokounmpo lead the voting for the 2026 All-Star game. Notably, LeBron James' record-setting streak as an All-Star starter has come to an end.
It has. It's an unbelievable streak. Obviously, he was hurt to start the season and didn't get the fan vote like he used to get. As like you said, some of these world players are taking over when it comes to fan voting. So it did come to an end. I'm going to be very curious to see, if he gets in with the reserve. He's played better. I think he's really found his groove and played really good basketball the last couple of weeks. Is that enough to get a reserve spot? There's a lot of people out there that deserve it. And again, the other thing about this, I know it's the Clippers arena, but this game's in LA, Gene, And like you're LeBron, you've had all these all stars. Remember how they did MJ a while back, and they kind of gave him this spot towards the end. Like I wonder
Right,
how
right,
this is
right,
going to play
right.
out with LeBron in the All Star selection.
Well, because it's in LA, even though it's going to be played at the Clippers' new
Still LA
arena,
though, yeah.
but it's still in LA. So February 14th through the 16th.
I think they
Uh,
find a way to have him on the team. And
you,
I've heard
you,
players around the league say that they think he should be on the team, that he's kind of earned this kind of career achievement.
well, it's an honorary thing there, just like
Yeah.
you said with MJ. So
Yeah.
we'll see. All right. So we talked about so the 10 starters for the 75th NBA All-Star game. They were announced on Monday. We already told you about Luka Doncic and Giannis. However, what about these surprise starters here? Cade Cunningham and Tyrese
Yeah.
Maxey. How about that?
Yeah, well that's what I was kind of mentioning earlier when we always talk about Embiid when it comes to the 76ers, but Tyrese Maxey, again, I'll say it again, is the face of that franchise. And what he's done has been unbelievable. Cade Cunningham continues his rise and has the Pistons number 1 in the Eastern Conference. So those two are very well deserving to be starters on the All-Star team.
So here's the Eastern Conference starters. You got Giannis, you got Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham, the Pistons, Tyrese Maxey, and Jalen Brown, who has really led the Celtics to a just an incredible season so far. Over in the
Yeah, I
Western,
don't think I have any issues with those Eastern Conference.
I don't either. I don't have not at all. Over in the Western Conference, we got Luca. We mentioned you got the Joker. You got Shea Gilgeous for the Thunder, Steph Curry once again, and Victor Wembanyama. You like Victor's new bald head there? He's starting to fit in there.
New
He looks
haircut.
like a regular NBA player.
Yeah, he does. And I don't know if I have any issues with these starters either. I will say the Victor one, his talent obviously deserves to start. If he was healthy the whole season, he'd be starting. But because he's been in and out of the lineup, he's come off the bench some. I wonder if they could have got a different starter in there and he still makes a team. But he's going to get a ton of votes because he's one of the most popular guys in the league. So I don't know if I have an issue with that either. So.
And Dustin, a couple of weeks ago we talked about this, but for our listeners, if you just tuning in to our NBA show, we went over the major rule format change, the USA versus the world. So this new format, the 2026. Say what, Dustin?
Three teams. It'll be 3 teams. Or no, will it be 4? Did we say 4 teams?
Yes.
4 teams, yeah.
And this is quite interesting.
Yeah.
So look, Sunday, February 15th, 2026. Game is going to be at Intuit Dome, Inglewood, California, the home of the Clippers. And the game returns to NBC for the first time in 24 years.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. Like, Gene, I can't wait. I think NBC's done a great job. I can't wait to see it on NBC. I think they're doing great coverage. I love the Round Ball Rock song. It's one of my favorite intro songs to any sporting event. I will miss Chuck, Kenny, EJ, and Shaq on All-Star.
Oh, I know. Well, unless ESPN might have some special coverage of those guys doing what they do. We've missed those guys the whole freaking year so far. It's just been a major disappointment.
But hopefully in LA it will be a great weekend because LA always puts on a show. I hope they can get some good people to be in the dunk contest. The stars come out for the 3-point contest because, again, Gene, I know it's been kind of fizzled out the last few years, but as an NBA fan since I was a kid, I've always loved All-Star Saturday night, so I still go into every Saturday and Sunday hoping that they're going to put on a good show.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. Matt McClung is hey, this is he lives for this moment, this time of the year.
He does.
We'll see if there's going to be other people joining him in this All-Star weekend. But look here, Dustin. I think we kind of covered a lot. Get you up to date. We showed you the standings. We showed you the what's going on in the East and the West. But look,
trade
the
deadline,
big thing, of course, this trade deadline here. We are going to probably do a show the day after or maybe the night of. I don't know, Dustin. We'll figure that out. But look, man, there could be some big names thrown around on that day or prior to that day.
Well, I'm looking at that date, Gene, and I'm like, the trade deadline on February, what is it, 6th?
The
February 5th. and then the Super Bowl on February 8th. You
I
talk about
know.
a big
Too
week
much.
of news. That's a lot going on.
Yeah. I'm going to be in California during Super Bowl week. I won't be at the Super Bowl, but I will be in Southern California where everybody else is having fun in Northern California. But look, yeah, we might find ourselves doing a NFL and an NBA show the same freaking day. Who knows? It's shaping up to be that way.
And let me just say, we were going to try to keep this to 30. Let me just say this: we were going to try to keep this to around 30 minutes, but because of all the support and everybody in this show tonight, we went a little longer to get some comments in and talk about stuff.
Did.
I can't. This support from the NBA is unbelievable. And Mr. Goat 1996, Gene, we might have to buy him a drink because he seems pretty depressed right now about these Warriors, and the comments keep rolling in. Let's just hold out hope that things will get better for the Warriors.
No, we're gonna. Hey, look here, Mr. Go. We're gonna lift your spirits up, man. Look, hopefully, when we do our show, look, subscribe to the show and all that great stuff. Share the show, which we can never not mention enough. But we definitely want to help people out, like Mr. Gold, right? And Uncle G too. So and Bobby as well. But look, do us a favor though. Subscribe to the show. Leave your comments, which you have done tonight, and like and share. But I tell you what, we're going to come back. We'll come back and do another NBA show next week. And I guarantee you, Dustin, I think we're going to have some big news.
Absolutely. I can't wait to come back and do it again. And everybody that's in the show come back, because when you're in here, it brings the energy and makes it better.
It does. It really does. All right, Dustin, we out of here, folks. Hey, look. Don't forget, look, if you also like the NFL, we will be on live tomorrow talking about the Final Four, the championship games for the NFL. So tune in to that show, get our thoughts and opinions on that. So Dustin, look here, another thing, right? So look, people who really don't have time to just really watch us live or even look at the YouTube portion of this show, you can also get the podcast of this show now. We're back on iHeartRadio. We're back on Spotify. Yeah. We're also back on Amazon Music. So if you just want to hear the audio, then you have the option. Of course, if you always want to just get on YouTube and watch the show here, you can see our faces. So anyway, all right, we're going to get out of here, but we'll come back here and do this again. I want to appreciate everyone for jumping in tonight. And Dustin, hey, I'll see you tomorrow, brother.
See you tomorrow.
All righty.